Pacheco and Carmen, a love across time. Long before his name was heard in the cattle fairs, Pacheco was simply a quiet farmer from Pinto. The neighbors knew him as a hard-working and stubborn man, one of those who speak little but always keep their word. His hands were hardened by the soil, and his gaze carried the stillness of someone who seemed to hear things others couldn't perceive. Sometimes, when his work in the fields was done, he would stand looking towards the north. Beyond the fields and the gentle hills, the mountains rose around San Lorenzo de El Escorial, and above them all loomed the austere majesty of the monastery presiding over the land. Pacheco did not know it then, but his life would one day be tied forever to that place. Everything began on an autumn afternoon at a fair near the monastery. There were cattle, merchants, wine, dust, and noise everywhere. Pacheco had brought some grain to sell. From within the crowd emerged a young woman, accompanied by her aunt. Her dress was elegant, yet simple, and she carried herself with the quiet assurance of one raised in comfort and privilege. Her name was Carmen. Her family came from Lisbon and belonged to a prosperous bourgeois class devoted to trade. They lived near the monastery and were accustomed to dealing with notaries, merchants, and men of influence. Carmen had grown up surrounded by books, refined conversations, and a carefully planned future. But the moment she saw Pacheco, something unexpected stirred within her. It was not his clothing nor his humble appearance. It was his gaze, direct, intense, almost unsettling in its sincerity. For a few seconds, they looked at each other across the fair's bustling crowd. Then, each one of them continued on their way. Yet the image of that moment remained etched in both their hearts. Days later, they met again near the gardens that surrounded the monastery. "You are the man from the fair," Carmen said. "Yes," Pacheco replied. "You looked at me as if you already knew me." Pacheco looked at her for a moment before answering. "No, I looked at you because I thought I might never see you again." His honesty surprised her and at the same time intrigued her. From that day on, they began meeting up whenever they could. Pacheco began to travel from Pinto to San Lorenzo de El Escorial every few weeks. He would borrow a horse and ride along long, solitary roads. The journey could take more than a day. Sometimes he slept in humble roadside inns crowded with muleteers. Other nights, when the road stretched too far, he slept beneath the stars. But when he arrived and saw Carmen waiting among the trees, the weariness of the journey melted away. They would walk for hours. She spoke of Portugal, of distant cities, and of the books she had read. He spoke of the land, of the seasons, and of the unpredictable temper of the fields. Slowly, their conversations turned into something deeper. One summer afternoon, the garden was empty. The heat shimmered in the air, and the cicadas sung in the trees. Carmen stood very close to him. "Pacheco," she said softly, "this cannot last." "I know." My family would never accept this. Pacheco held her hands. I did not ride all this way to talk about what the world accepts. He embraced her carefully, yet with restrained passion. Carmen felt the strong beating of his heart and understood something she had never felt before. This was not a simple attraction. It was a love intense enough to change a life. But the world soon intervened. Don Julián, a respected notary, began visiting Carmen's house frequently. He was elegant, educated, and ambitious. He represented the perfect future to her family. When they discovered the secret meetings with the farmer, they reacted with fury. Carmen was forbidden to see Pacheco again. Pacheco continued making the journey for months. He would wait for hours in the garden. Sometimes Carmen managed to steal a few minutes away. Other times, no one appeared. One stormy night, he arrived soaked after a terrible ride from Pinto. He waited until dawn. Carmen never appeared. Weeks later, her marriage to the notary was announced. That news changed Pacheco's life. For a time, he disappeared from the markets and fairs. Then something unexpected happened. Instead of collapsing, he threw himself into work with fierce determination. He bought a few cows, then more. He learned to trade livestock in the regional markets. He had a natural instinct for business. Year after year, his fortune grew. The poor farmer from Pinto would one day become one of the richest cattlemen in the region. Yet he never forgot. Meanwhile, Carmen's marriage to the notary was peaceful yet cold. Don Julián was respectable and correct, but he lacked the passion she had known with Pacheco. The house was elegant, life was comfortable, yet in quiet nights, Carmen remembered the walks, the hugs, and the intensity of that lost love. For years, she wrote letters she never sent. In these letters, she confessed a bitter truth she had learned. There are men with whom one can live, and men one loves for a lifetime. Fate intervened again many years later. The notary fell gravely ill during a harsh winter and died soon afterward. Carmen became a widow. After a long mourning, she began walking again along the paths near the monastery. One afternoon, she saw a tall man standing beside a horse. It was Pacheco. Decades had gone by, yet when their eyes met, they felt the same tremor they had felt in their youth. They walked together for hours. They spoke of the years that had gone by, of the lives they had lived, of the choices they had made. When the sun began to set, Pacheco held Carmen's hand. This time, she did not pull away. They embraced with a calm but powerful intensity, like two people who finally understood that time had not destroyed what they once felt. I have loved you my whole life, Carmen whispered. Pacheco closed his eyes for a moment. I never stopped waiting for you. Soon afterward, Carmen sold part of her properties near San Lorenzo del Escorial and moved to Pacheco's lands in Pinto. They began a new life there. No luxury, no pretense. Only a peaceful feeling neither of them had ever known. For years, the neighbors told the story of the farmer who rode across Castile on horseback for love, and of the woman from the high bourgeoisie who returned to him after a lifetime apart. And on some nights, when the wind wandered through the fields, People said they could see Pacheco and Carmen walking together beneath the stars, like two young lovers who had finally reached the end of a road in the gardens of the monastery of El Escorial. Narrated by Rachel Gribler. Sound by Roberto Pacheco. Author José Pardal.